When I fed the millionaire CEO's daughter, I never expected the life-changing twist that followed. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire. My heart raced as I stood outside that lavish mansion, a place I only knew from the stories of my friends. With every step, I felt small. My trembling hands were clenching an uneaten piece of bread, its crust rough against my fingers. I looked up. The grand entrance loomed before me, guarded by marble columns that gleamed under the moonlight. The air was thick with anticipation, my pulse echoing loudly in my ears. I was just a waiter at the charity gala, a background figure at an event meant for the rich and famous. Then I spotted her, the CEO's daughter, her laughter like soft chimes ringing through the air. She was radiant, dressed in rich silk, her hair flowing like golden waves. As she turned towards me, our eyes locked. I felt the world slow down. There was something in her gaze, a spark of curiosity mixed with something darker. I approached her with my tray, my heart pounding. "Can I get you something?" I asked, trying to steady my voice, but it trembled. She leaned in closer, her breath a whisper. "Just a piece of bread, but I'll trade you for a secret." In that moment, I felt the gravity of her words sink into my chest. I was about to unlock a door I had no idea existed. I handed her the bread, watching as her fingers brushed against mine. It felt electric, charged with an unspoken promise. "I know something you don't," she said, her eyes glittering. "Something about my father. He's not who you think he is." My stomach dropped. My mind raced with questions. What did she mean? I wanted to know more. But before I could ask, a shadow swept over her face. "You need to leave. They're coming." Panic hit me like a wave. The room buzzed with voices, laughter echoing off the walls, but in that instant, all I could hear was the thunder of my heart. I took a step back, confusion swirling inside me. "Who's coming?" I whispered, fear creeping into my voice. Her gaze flickered to the door, her expression shifting to one of dread. "Just trust me. Go now." Then, she was gone, lost in the crowd, and I was left standing there with questions burning hotter than the stars above. What had I stumbled into? Could it really be true? I felt the weight of the world closing in, the shadows of uncertainty reaching for me. I had a choice to stay and uncover the secrets lurking behind those walls, or to run, free yet forever haunted by the unknown. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The haunting echo of her words rang in my mind as I stumbled back through the throng of guests. The laughter and clinking of glasses blended into an unbearable cacophony. Each face I passed felt oblivious to the strange weight settling in my chest, an imbalance created by the spark of her secret. I couldn't shake the feeling of urgency coursing through me. I had to understand what she meant. That I slipped between silken gowns and crisp tuxedos, my heart racing with a mixture of dread and adrenaline. Outside, the night enveloped me in its cool embrace. I drew in deep breaths, trying to calm the storm within. With the mansion's crystalline structure behind me, the world stretched out, vast and uncharted. "Who are you running from?" a voice called out. I turned, startled. It was a boy not much older than me, scruffy hair tousled in a way that made him look effortlessly charming. He leaned against a black SUV, cigarette in hand, the glow illuminating a half-smirk on his lips. "I am not running," I stammered, caught off guard. He raised an eyebrow. "Looks like it to me. You could use a friend, you know." An unexpected warmth tugged at my heart. In a world that felt so isolating, his kindness was like a candle in the dark. "What is your name?" I asked, curiosity breaking through my fear. "Call me Leo." "You're new here, aren't you?" Not exactly the typical guest for this gala. He leaned in, smoke curling around us, intrigued. "I'm a waiter. Just helping out." I hesitated, deciding whether to disclose more. "A girl, she just told me something about her father." Leo's smirk faded, replaced by a look of empathy. "That's not uncommon at this place. The wealthy bury secrets under their golden roofs." "Yeah, but this felt different." As I spoke, unease crept back into my chest. I couldn't shake the unease that had settled there. "She said he is not who I think he is." Leo nodded, clearly understanding the weight of my words. "You really think you want to know?" Curiosity has a way of dragging you under. My mind raced with possibilities. Part of me wanted to retreat, to leave this world of shimmering deception behind. But another part of me was drawn to the truth like a moth to a flame. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling more vulnerable with every passing second that he flicked his cigarette away, his gaze piercing. "Truth has a price. There are people who go to any lengths to keep it hidden, even if it involves hurting others." As I contemplated his words, the pain in my heart shifted into something sharper. I remembered her face, the urgency in her eyes. Could I really turn away from this? "How do you know all of this?" "Spent enough time lurking around here to know how the game is played. But hey, if you're serious about this, I can help." He stepped closer, the shadows of the night concealing the depth of his expression. "But you've got to promise me one thing, be careful. You may get more than you bargained for." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket, an urgent message from an unknown number. I hesitated, then pulled it out. The screen illuminated, revealing a single cryptic line: "You need to meet me. Your life depends on it." My heart dropped, the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins yet again. As I looked up at Leo, he was studying me intently, his earlier bravado slipping. "What is wrong?" This message. It's before I could finish, I heard a loud crash behind the mansion, cutting the air like a knife. Instinctively, I turned my gaze to the source, the shadow of something unsettling lingering just beyond the trees. "Stay here," I murmured to Leo, a sudden desperation pushing me forward, but he grabbed my arm, his grip firm. "No, you don't have to face this alone. Whatever it is, we can handle it together." Then, a ripple of commotion started inside the gala, voices rising feverishly. Panic sat heavily in the air, and as I looked back at Leo, something shifted in his expression, a glimmer of genuine concern mixed with fear. I had a choice: to venture blindly towards the danger, to seek the truth, or to turn away and lose the chance to unravel the life I had only just begun to grasp. At that moment, just beyond the horizon, the sky darkened ominously, mirroring the uncertainty I felt deep in my gut. But when I looked back, Leo's eyes were wide, and suddenly, it was clear that the lines separating us, those of money, privilege, and opportunity, were blurring. Then came the echo of a shattered dream, a scream. In its wake, the last thread of calm was severed, leaving only chaos in its place. We were yanked into a world neither of us understood, but what I didn't yet know was how intricately our fates were intertwined. I took a step forward into the unknown, and there was no turning back. The air crackled with tension as I stepped further into the darkness, every muscle in my body urging me to retreat. Leo hesitated only a heartbeat before following, the warmth of his presence a fragile reassurance as I grasped the gravity of our situation. "What was that?" he whispered, fear mingling with intrigue in his voice that I strained to discern the sounds beyond the trees, the scattering of footsteps, hushed voices rising and falling like waves on a tempestuous sea. Each step felt like a betrayal of my instincts, of the urgency to flee. Yet something deeper tugged at me, a sickening blend of dread and curiosity that I couldn't ignore. "Stop!" a voice commanded, sharp and authoritative. It sent a chill down my spine as we peered through the dense foliage. Shadows danced in the pale light spilling from the mansion's windows, where silhouettes moved about, frantic and agitated. It's coming from over there, I said, pointing toward the source of the crescendo. Just then, a figure burst forth from the tangle of trees, disheveled and wild-eyed, a woman, her dress torn and muddy, face streaked with panic. Help! Someone help me! She stumbled into view, and a deeper pull, an unexplainable bond, seemed to draw me closer. They're coming for me. Before I could react, Leo lunged, his protective instincts flaring. Get down! He shouted, instinctively placing himself between her and whoever lurked in the shadows. The tension snapped as footsteps echoed, growing louder, closer. Run! I yelled, and the three of us bolted, hearts pounding in synchrony, the sound of our footfalls swallowed by the night. As we sprinted across the manicured lawn, I felt a surge of adrenaline and desperation fueling us onward. Behind us, the voices converged, dripping with a menacing calm, all too aware that they were being pursued. You can't hide forever. One taunted, the rich timbre chilling me to the bone. What was that? What do they want from you? Leo murmured breathlessly as we ducked behind a sprawling hedge. The woman collapsed, breathless and shaking. I saw something I wasn't meant to see, she stammered, eyes wide with terror. I was only in the wrong place at the wrong time. There are deals being made, lives being exchanged. She gasped, they'll do anything to keep it quiet. My heart raced not just from the fear of being caught but from the enormity of her words. You mean about her father? I asked, grasping for clarity in the chaos. Yes. The girl in the ballroom, she's part of this. They're tangled in a web of deceit, she explained, tears welling in her eyes. I was in the room when I overheard them discussing plans that could ruin lives. I felt the weight of her words settle over me like lead. So many unknowns, yet the thrill of uncovering the truth only drew me closer. What do we do? I whispered, glancing at Leo, whose expression had transformed from a playful smirk to steely resolve. We keep running, he suggested, shifting his weight, scanning the perimeter. But we can't go back until we know more. They can't catch us if they don't know where we are. Our small group pressed deeper into the labyrinth of the estate, our hearts synchronized in a frantic rhythm. I could feel an invisible thread pulling me towards the uncertain future, a fate that had begun to intertwine with the others. Then, an unexpected warmth brushed against my hand, a gentle squeeze from the woman, her trust placing a newfound responsibility on my shoulders. Thank you for helping me, she whispered, her fear momentarily replaced by courage. As we rounded a corner, the sight that greeted us was surreal, a glimmering pool illuminated by strategic lighting, a secluded oasis that seemed a world apart from the chaos. In this moment of peace, there was an echo of hope, a seed of possibility planted amidst the turmoil. Think we could hide here until it's safe? I asked, panting slightly as we ducked behind a lavish lounger. I don't know, Leo replied, glancing over his shoulder. But we can't stay out in the open. Shoo, the woman urged, her breath hitching. Listen. The sounds of footsteps had ceased, replaced by an eerie lull. With breaths held tight, we sat in fearful silence as the realization set in, they might have given up the chase. Or were they looking for us, laying a trap? Do you think we're safe? I asked, needlessly, the question sounding hollow. Leo shrugged, but his eyes spoke volumes, a blend of uncertainty and resignation. For now, maybe. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Just then, my phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message. I hesitated, sensing the encroaching dread. What now? I mumbled, my fingers trembling as I opened it. One single line appeared, you have no idea who you're dealing with. Trust no one. The implications were deadly, and then I looked up to find Leo staring right at me. What is it? He asked, tension tinging the air between us. An anonymous warning, I replied, my heart plummeting. Not just about them, about us. Before I could explain, a flash of light flickered in the distance, and we froze, dread pooling in our stomachs. They were close, and we were trapped. Just as unease settled in our hearts, an ominous figure emerged at the edge of the pool's shimmer, his silhouette a dark harbinger against the glistening backdrop. "Time's up," he called, voice smooth and deadly, slithering into the stillness like smoke. Our fates hung precariously in the balance, and in that moment, I understood the stakes I had unknowingly stepped into. As fear blossomed within me, it became clear, this was only the beginning of a hunt I never wanted to be a part of, and there was no way to predict the darkness that lay ahead. The moment felt suspended in time, the air thickening with dread as the figure at the edge of the pool took a step closer. Shadows played across his face, revealing a cold smile that sent shivers racing down my spine. Leo instinctively moved closer, his body taut, ready to defend us against the fear looming just beyond the shimmering water. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, even as the words felt weak and uncertain. "Someone who can help or hurt," he replied, his voice a cocktail of charm and menace. "It all depends on your choices." Behind me, I could feel the woman trembling, her breaths coming quicker as panic threatened to overwhelm her. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely a sound. "You don't understand, he can't be trusted." But the man simply chuckled, a sound that echoed with cruel amusement. "Ah, the girl understands more than she knows," he mused. "More than all of you, I assure you. What do you want with us?" Leo interjected, his tone defensive but also laced with confusion. "You're in a delicate situation, my friend," the figure answered, stepping into the soft light, revealing sharp features and predatory eyes. "And while your instincts urge you to flee, you might want to consider the truth I have to offer." I found myself transfixed, an unsettling mix of fear and curiosity binding me in place. "Truth?" I repeated, almost dumbly. "About what?" "About who you all really are," he said, his gaze falling on me, then drifting back to the woman. "And what you've stumbled into. There are forces at play that none of you can comprehend. That's enough." Leo growled, taking a step forward, protective and brave, as if our safety rested in his hands, but the man merely waved his hand as if brushing aside the threat. "Brave, but misguided," he replied lightly. "You're playing a game with high stakes, and I'm merely offering to help you understand the rules. Consider it a favor." "Favor?" I echoed, incredulous. "What's in it for you?" The corner of his mouth turned up in a sly grin. "Ah, that's the beauty of this dance, isn't it? Mutual benefit, a delightful exchange. You feed me your trust, and I'll lead you just far enough to glimpse the truth. Then you might decide whether to embrace it or run. Why would we trust you?" The woman spat, venom lacing her voice. "You're one of them." "I'm nothing more than a messenger," he replied smoothly, his eyes glinting with amusement. "But trust or not, if you don't listen to the message, you'll find yourself facing consequences that go beyond your imagination." As he spoke, doubt began to seed itself within me. What if he spoke the truth? What if the layers of deception I'd already encountered wrapped around me tighter than I ever knew? My heart raced as I exchanged furtive glances with Leo and the woman, the uncertainty gripping us all. "Let's just go," Leo urged quietly, but my mind was ablaze, caught in a whirlwind of thoughts and instincts, pulled between fleeing and standing my ground. "Why are you even here?" I finally asked, my resolve strengthening. "What do you get out of this?" "A chance to witness the turning of tides," he replied softly, his voice almost reverent. "Power shifts in ways you can't fathom, and those bold enough to seek the truth often find the greatest rewards or the deepest despair." As his words sank in, a chilling realization washed over me. We were standing on a precipice, teetering on the edge of a darkness we had yet to fully understand. But before I could voice my concerns, the calm of the evening shattered with the rush of footsteps breaking through the tranquil facade. The menacing voices from earlier filled the air, growing closer, reverberating with urgency and something akin to malice. "Time's not on your side, lovely ones." The man purred, amusement dancing in his eyes as he turned to face the approaching threat. "Choose quickly, run, or listen." Without thinking, I grabbed the woman's hand, and Leo took my other side, a silent pact formed between us. "We have to run," I urged. The figure's wicked smile widened. "Run, then. But remember, the truth does not hide behind shadows forever. It will find you, whether you're seeking it or fleeing from it." With that, we took off, plunging back into the tangled darkness, the voices of danger rapidly converging. But as we ran, the words of the mysterious figure echoed in my mind, blending with the impending doom that followed us, and just as we thought the path was clear, a scream pierced the night, visceral and heart-wrenching, freezing us in our tracks. My heart plummeted as I recognized the voice one I never thought would become part of this nightmarish saga. It was her. The girl from the ballroom. The one we didn't know we were entangled with. "Who is there?" she called, panic laced throughout her voice, increasingly distant. My chest tightened, my breath caught in my throat as fear wrapped around me like a vice. We had to go back, had to help her. But as I turned to Leo and the woman, the shadows converged, and dread settled into my bones. What awaited us on this dark path was infinitely more dangerous than we had ever imagined. In that moment, I realized we were no longer just running from dangers lurking in the night, we were chasing a fate we might not be prepared to confront. The night air was heavy with tension as I pulled Leo and the woman back toward the scream that cut through the night, sharp and piercing. I could feel the adrenaline pumping wildly in my veins, a potent mix of fear and determination driving me forward. "We can't leave her," I insisted, my voice unwavering despite the uncertainty clawing at my heart. Leo hesitated for only a moment before nodding, his expression torn between pragmatism and urgency. "All right, but we have to be careful. We don't know what's out there," he said, as a low rumble of voices approached from behind us, pursuers clearly intent on catching us. The woman, who we hadn't yet had a chance to truly engage with aside from her trembling demeanor, tightened her grip on my arm. I think I know where she might be," she stammered, a flicker of resolve igniting within her. "There's a small trail that leads to the Willow Grove. It's south, got to be close." "Lead the way," I encouraged, as I desperately fought against the sense of dread that clung to me like fog. That we slipped through the tree-line, the shadows wrapping around us tightly. My heart thudded loudly in my chest, every sound magnified as we hurried through the underbrush. Within moments, we reached the grove, its ethereal beauty juxtaposed with the chaos enveloping our minds. Moonlight broke through the leaves above, casting silver pools of light on the ground. "Hello? Is anyone there?" The girl's voice, tinged with fear, floated towards us, urging us on. "We're coming," I shouted, gripping Leo's hand so tightly my knuckles turned white. Each step felt like a countdown, the urgency of our mission amplifying with every heartbeat. As we pushed deeper into the grove, I spotted her. She was crouched beside a broken branch, her face pale and streaked with tears. What horrified me more than her visible panic was the way her eyes darted around, clearly searching for any threat nearby. "No!" a voice bellowed from the darkness at the edge of the grove, sending a combination of chill and dread racing down my spine. It was one of the men who had been pursuing us. I felt the air shift, like something malignant had entered our sanctuary. "Get back!" Leo shouted, rushing ahead of me, shielding both the girl and the woman with his body. I could almost see his heartbeat radiating an unwavering defiance, a shield against the storm of chaos unfurling around us. "Leo, watch out!" I screamed, my instincts exploding as I dashed forward to join him, but he had already pushed the girl to her feet. "Run!" he urged, and even as the command left his lips, I could see the dread etched on his face. He was trying to assess the threat, deciding how to protect us all. The force behind the men's voices grew louder, and from the shadows, more figures emerged. The man from the pool, his amusement turned sinister, stood at the forefront. Had I known a family reunion would take place, I would have brought a gift. His smile was a predator's, the air around him crackling with malevolence, but just as despair threatened to wash over us, a gust of wind rustled through the grove, catching my attention. Unexpectedly, a small figure darted from the shadows, its form agile and unnaturally quick. It was a girl, no older than 12, although her bright eyes and determined stance gave her an unusual fierceness. She flanked the group, her sudden appearance like a light in the encroaching darkness. "Over here!" she yelled, gesturing wildly as she darted deeper into the grove, clearly unafraid of the looming shadows. "Follow her!" I cried, instinctively trusting the girl's courage in this terrifying moment. The urgency rose, urging us to act. "Come!" Leo shouted, and without a second thought, he grasped my hand and pulled the woman along as we charged after the newcomer. The howl of the men's voices faded somewhat as we rushed deeper into the thicket, abandoning the impending confrontation for the promise of safety that we stumbled through the woods, the path winding unpredictably as the night enveloped us. Eventually, the trees parted to reveal a hidden campsite, disused but somehow still standing strong against time, as if it were waiting for us to find it. A small fire pit lay cold, your typical gathering spot, and amidst the debris, we caught our breath. "Who are you?" I panted, staring at the girl, who was now catching her breath against a tree, her wild hair glowing in the moonlight. She seemed out of place yet undeniably belonging in this moment. "Someone who wants to help you," she replied, her voice earnest despite her age. There was weight in her words, a conviction born from clearly having faced challenges beyond her years. As the adrenaline began to ebb, I shot a glance toward Leo and the woman, just as shock waves rolled through the space. "Help us how?" the woman asked, skepticism hanging in her tone. Still on edge from our close call, the girl leaned in, her eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and wisdom. "They're using you. You're all part of something bigger, and if you don't know how to navigate it, you'll end up in the same fate as others who've tried to run." "But who are they?" Leo pressed, his brow furrowing in concern. And that's when the girl's face shifted, turning solemn, revealing a truth that would coil itself around our hearts like a serpent. "You have to trust me, but first, you need to understand, I was sent to help you uncover the truth, your pasts, your connection to the $1 million stakes, all of it." Panic surged through me, spiraling into despair as realization washed over the trio. This wasn't just about our immediate survival, it was about something far greater. The delicate threads of our lives were weaving into a tapestry that hid secrets we weren't prepared to unravel. Just then, a distant ominous rumble reverberated through the night, resonating deep within my bones. It cut through the moment, dragging us back to the looming darkness and the choices we had yet to make. The girl stepped closer, her voice tightening with urgency. "If you don't act now, if you don't choose to seek, every moment you waste will cost you everything you hold dear." And in the midst of our fears and mounting tensions, I knew that we were teetering on the edge of an uncertain abyss, a dark promise whispering that the truth would soon unfold, and it would hold echoes of betrayal and revelations that might shatter everything we knew. A cliffhanger hung over our heads like a storm cloud waiting to burst. The fire pit flickered to life with stubborn embers that valiantly fought the darkness around us. My heart raced, tumultuous thoughts colliding in my mind as I tried to grasp the girl's words. Each heartbeat seemed louder than the last, echoing like a countdown to an uncertain future. I could feel the weight of our hidden connections and the impending truths threatening to blow apart the fragile peace we had found. "What do you mean, our pasts?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. It was as though our hidden stories were suspended in the air, waiting for the right moment to be unveiled. The woman shot me an apprehensive glance, still wrestling with her trepidation, while Leo stood vigilant, still assessing our surroundings for any signs of danger. The girl's eyes softened, a glimmer of empathy breaking through her fierce demeanor. "You're all connected in ways you haven't even begun to understand. There's a web of lies and secrets that binds your lives together. If you want to stay alive, you must confront it." I felt a shiver run down my spine, the unformed realization sinking into my gut. Twisted fates, woven in the shadows of our histories, danced tantalizingly close, beckoning us to reach out and touch the unknown. "Why us?" Leo asked, his brow furrowing deeper. "Why would they go after people like us? We're nobody." The girl stepped back, glancing at the dark trees, a shadow flitting across her face. "Nobody, perhaps, but that's not what they want you to believe. They have their reasons. They need the fragments of you, your stories, to mold their own reality. So what's next? The woman chimed in, her voice carrying a mix of hope and skepticism, as though she wanted desperately to believe there was a way out of this madness. We need to find the others, the girl insisted, sparking a sense of urgency that ignited the air. There are more like you people who have also been caught in this trap. Together, you might have a chance. I exchanged glances with Leo, and although fear gnawed at the edges of our resolve, there was also something deeper, a flicker of hope ignited by our shared purpose. And how do we even know you're not leading us into another trap? Leo challenged, microscopic doubts crawling up his spine. I can't prove it to you right now, she replied, shrugging her shoulders, but trust me, I'm on your side. I was one of them once, and I escaped, but only because I learned to trust those who were willing to fight. You have to embrace the fear and use it as your strength. Just then, the adrenaline of our near escape from the grove began to settle into an exhausted stillness. My mind whirled, weighing the girl's words, the puzzle pieces of what awaited us. Each fragment of doubt began to resolve, only to swirl back into chaos. Suddenly, a rustle erupted from within the trees, snapping us back to reality. The ominous presence of our pursuers lingered in the air, their relentless determination creeping closer. I could feel icy tendrils of dread creeping back down my spine. Hide! I hissed, but as we scrambled for shelter, I felt a cold, clinging presence suffocate the air, as if the shadows themselves were reaching out to capture us. The girl darted to a nearby bush, her small frame blending effortlessly into the foliage. My heart raced in time with the frenzied whispers of the woods, the echoes of our pursuers growing louder and closer. Leo and the woman pressed against the trunk of a tree, their breaths heavy with anticipation. Then came the chilling sound of laughter, shrill and mocking. One of the men had discovered our whereabouts. You think you can escape us? He taunted, and the echo of his voice was a reminder of the stakes escalating right before our eyes. Panic surged through me, crackling against the dread that held me hostage. Just as I opened my mouth to whisper a plan, the girl suddenly leaped from her hiding place, her eyes alight with determination. This way! She gasped, gesturing for us to follow. The urgency in her voice filled me with a sense of resolve, and without thinking, I bolted forward, Leo and the woman hot on my heels. The forest seemed to warp and shift around us, branches reaching for us like skeletal hands. As we raced deeper into the underbrush, the distant laughter faded, only to be replaced by the haunting realization that we had stumbled into something larger than ourselves, a wicked game of which we were unwitting players. Then, without warning, the ground beneath us shifted, and I stumbled, landing hard on the earth. Looking back, I could see the woman falter, her face a mask of fear. We can't stop now! Leo shouted, grabbing her hand to pull her back to her feet, but it was too late. I could feel the ground ripple beneath me, and for a splintering moment, time froze. Just as I turned to warn them, the earth beneath my feet cracked, and I felt the overwhelming sensation of falling, along with echoes of gasping breaths and desperate screams, and then darkness swallowed me whole. As the darkness enveloped me, the sound of my own heartbeat pulsed in my ears like a sinister drum. In that suspended moment, fear coiled tightly around my lungs, squeezing out all the oxygen. I braced for impact, unsure of what lay on the other side of this abyss. When I finally hit the ground, I landed in a cold, damp pit, a stark contrast to the warmth of the forest. My body ached, and my vision blurred as I blinked against the dim lighting that flickered like the last remnants of hope. As I tried to shake off the disorientation, voices drifted towards me, unfamiliar yet laced with urgency. Are you okay? A soft voice asked, trembling with concern. That I turned to see a girl, perhaps only a little younger than I, crouched beside me. Her eyes were wide and filled with a blend of sympathy and dread. I nodded slowly, still trying to catch my breath. Stay down. Another voice warned, harsher, and I recognized it as Leo. We don't know if they followed us. Panic gripped me as I scrambled to my feet, brushing off debris. Where's the woman? The girl? I stammered, craning my neck to find the others. They fell too, he said, his voice low and steady, but the flicker of fear in his eyes betrayed him. I thought I saw them land further back. We need to figure out how to get out of here. A sense of dread tightened around my chest like a vice. What if they find us first? Forcing myself into calmness, I became acutely aware of our surroundings. The pit was deeper than I initially thought, with jagged walls that loomed like ominous sentinels. Small shafts of light trickled in from above, illuminating fragments of stone and patches of moss that clung to the edges. We have to climb, I said, my voice firm but shaking. As we assessed the walls, I felt an unexpected warmth brush against my arm. I turned to find the younger girl, a vibrant burst of warmth in this cold abyss, offering a hand. I can help, she said, her determination shining brighter than the fear etched on her face, but the moment her fingers touched mine, memories surged within me, echoes of laughter, shared meals, a unity that seemed both tantalizing and foreign. I couldn't tell if it was a memory of my past or just a flicker of hope born from desperation. Who are you? I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs. Names don't matter right now, she urged. What matters is getting out. Just then, a thunderous noise erupted from above, the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps. My heart slammed against my chest, each thud mimicking the frantic rhythm of my thoughts. They're looking for us, I gasped, the girl's grip tightened around my wrist. We can't let them catch us again. We turned our gaze to the walls, now seeming even more daunting. I don't think we can climb. It's too steep, Leo said, surveying the slick surface with evident doubt, but the muffled warning cries from above spurred me forward. We have to try. As we helped one another, clambering over uncomfortable rocks and slippery moss, the noise from our pursuers grew sharper, an unforgiving reminder that our time was running out. Just as I reached a higher ledge, a fragment of stone gave way beneath my foot, and I felt myself teeter dangerously. No! Leo shouted, lunging towards me, but I fell backward, plummeting deeper into further shadows. When I finally came to a stop, I lay crumpled on a lower ledge, breathless and disoriented. My ears rang with silence, the urgency of our situation sinking in. Please! I shouted into the void, my voice cracking against the walls, is anyone there? A faint rustling echoed back, and suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, one I instantly recognized. It was the woman from before, her face dusted with fear, but her eyes sparkled with a determined quietude. I found you! She exclaimed, rushing to my side, her hands trembling as they reached for mine. I thought I lost you. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, relief mingling with the panic from moments before. We need to get the others. Leo. The girl. We'll find them. I swear, she said, pulling me to my feet. We both paused for a moment, looking into each other's eyes as if to assess the damage, the lingering fear, the undeniable connection that had grown between us. Just then, a chilling realization washed over me. What if this was planned? What if we're being herded like sheep? The woman's composure faltered for a heartbeat. Then we'll fight back and not become victims of someone else's game. The walls felt claustrophobic as more heavy footsteps approached, shaking the ground beneath us. Just as we resolved to move deeper into the confines of this underground lair, I spotted something glimmer from the shadows, a shard of glass reflecting the dim light. My breath hitched as I reached down, pulling it free from beneath a tangle of debris. That it was a locket, familiar and haunting, the delicate chains unmistakable. And as I opened it, the faces of laughing children, a woman, and a man stared back at me. My past, my roots, intertwined with every moment that led me here. I need to know who these people are, I murmured, the weight of realization crushing down upon me. Suddenly, the footsteps had come close enough to pierce through my thoughts, and before I could fully grasp its significance, a voice rang out from behind us, chilling and charismatic. Ah, there you are, dear ones. I've been looking for you. The voice sent a shiver down my spine, echoing through the pit like the icy breath of despair. I turned, heart racing, my world narrowing down to the figure that stepped into view. Dressed in an immaculate suit, the man loomed above, casting a shadow that swallowed the flickering light. Who are you? I demanded, trembling yet defiant, clutching the locket tightly in my palm. That he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Consider me your benefactor, or perhaps your jailer. My mind raced as I took in his cold demeanor. Why was he here? What do you want from us? I managed, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. Only a small taste of your loyalty, he replied with an unsettling calmness. You're caught in a game far larger than you understand. But don't worry, you're all merely pawns, for now. The woman beside me stiffened, her hand slipping into mine for reassurance. We want to play your game, she declared, her voice steadier than I felt inside. The man chuckled softly, his eyes glinting with cruel amusement. Ah, but you already are, my dear. The moment you fell into this pit, you entered my world. He gestured for us to follow. Now, if you all cooperate, perhaps I won't have to make this a permanent residence for you. The heavy footsteps beneath us halted, a silence settling over the chamber that was more oppressive than the dark itself. I clenched the locket tighter, the pressure grounding me in a reality I refused to accept. We need to find Leo and the girl, I whispered to the woman beside me, a sense of urgency pushing me forward despite the fear curling at the edges of my resolve. What is this place? She asked, eyes darting around, searching for an escape. Welcome to my little domain. It's quite picturesque if you enjoy the shadows, he said, gesturing to the oppressive stone walls. But let us not forget about our lost members. You wouldn't want anything to happen to them, would you? The reminder of our friend's peril was a knife to my gut. In that moment, I was overwhelmed by a chilling mix of dread and determination. Where are they? I pressed, my voice rising, driven by desperation. Ah, but good things come to those who wait, he replied, his tone sing-song as he turned on his heel. You think you'll just leave? It's been such fun so far. I could feel the walls close in, the darkness shifting around me as my heart pounded against the growing chaos of uncertainty. But in that moment of despair, a flicker of resilience broke through like a sunbeam piercing through the clouds. Just tell me how to find them, I pleaded, desperation seeping into my words. You don't need to keep us here. We can help you. He paused, cocking an eyebrow as if weighing my sincerity. Help me? Interesting proposition. But remember, trust is a fragile thing, easily shattered. In that tense moment, the air crackled with an unspoken challenge, an opportunity to turn the tide if only we played our cards right. We want to know the truth, I pressed. If you have something to gain from us, you might as well tell us what we're worth. The corner of his mouth twitched into a smile, but it was the kind that birthed unease rather than reassurance. Very well. It starts with the locket, doesn't it? The satisfaction in his tone sent a rush of anger coursing through me. How did he know? What was his connection to my past? Where's Leo? Where's the girl? I repeated, my voice fierce and resolute, determined to pry answers from this predator. With a theatrical gasp, he leaned closer. Perhaps I will give you a chance to find them. He waved his hand dismissively, the gesture like a key unlocking an impossible door. You'll learn what loyalty really means. And in that instant, realities shifted around me, the ground trembling under the weight of his words. With a swift movement, he turned on his heel, slowly retreating through the shadows. As his footsteps fade into silence, a voice echoed from the depths, a familiar, frantic call. It was Leo, his voice splintered with the sharp edge of fear and energy. Help! Help us! He was close, yet the sound was swallowed by the impenetrable darkness, leaving me teetering on the edge of hope and despair. I glanced at the woman beside me, her face a mask of determination, mirroring my own conflicting emotions. We have to help them, I said, already surging forward into the shadows. I took one last look at the glimmering locket, a bittersweet echo of my own lost past, before plunging deeper into the darkness. As I chased after Leo's voice, a sense of urgency clawed at my mind, but just as the sound grew clearer, a low chuckle echoed through the pit, a reminder of my captor's presence. Don't forget, he whispered through the shadows, each word hanging heavy in the air. Loyalty demands a price. Are you willing to pay? My heart sank, the meaning behind his words seeping in like the dampness surrounding us. Life in this underground prison had morphed into something far beyond survival. It was now a descent into a tangled web of loyalty, deceit, and danger, and with every step I took toward Leo, I felt the weight of a deeper truth pressing down on me, one that could shatter everything I ever knew. The shadows danced around me, mocking my desperate search for Leo, as my breath quickened with each step. The cold stone underfoot seemed to pulse with life, echoing my heartbeat. How long would I have to wander through this pit of darkness before I found him? Each call of his name felt like a prayer, desperate and unfinished, reaching for something I feared might never be grasped again. That I could feel the pull of fate tightening around my chest like a noose, the weight of my decisions pressing heavily on my mind. Was this all part of the game we had unwittingly entered? Would loyalty lead us to our friends, or bind us deeper into the game that the suit-wearing man had implied? Suddenly, another sound broke through, the faintest rustle, almost like a whisper. I spun around, halting in my tracks, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the suffocating darkness. My heart thudded loudly in my ears. Panic knotted my gut as I strained to discern the source. Is someone there? I called softly, hoping beyond hope it was Leo. A figure stepped out from behind a jagged stone, smaller than the man who had set this confusion in motion. But I could hardly recognize their face in the dimness. Is that you? A shaky voice replied, laced with a hint of recognition. Ava? My heartbeat surged. Emery. We moved toward each other, and in that brief instant, my heart felt lighter, buoyed by her presence. Emery was one of the brightest sparks among us, filled with an energy that could lift even the heaviest gloom. But in her eyes, even I could see the doubt, a pang of fear deeper than the shadows around us. What happened to Leo and the girl? I asked, urgency dripping from my words. I don't know where they are, she admitted, her voice trembling. But the last I saw, they were dragged in a different direction. There were so many of them, guards, I think. I was so scared. My stomach twisted at her words, thinking of my brother, strong, brave Leo, caught in the clutches of whoever that man was. But just as despair began to seep in, Emery touched my arm gently, her touch grounding me like a life raft in a stormy sea. We have to keep moving, she urged, determination pushing through her fear. If we work together, we can find them. With that flicker of hope igniting in my chest, we pressed onward through the dark passageways, the air growing thick with anticipation. Timid whispers of hope meandered into my thoughts. Together, Emery and I could find our friends, we could outsmart our captors. As the echo of footsteps above sent shivers down my spine, we ducked into a side chamber, cloaked in near-complete darkness. The flicker of a torch from the other side caught my attention, revealing hints of shapes and shadows, but we stayed still, holding our breaths as the world outside carried on in ignorance of our plight. That it was in this hushed corner that I took a moment to share our mounting fears, our hearts weighed down by the possibility of loss that felt more tangible than ever. If we don't find them, I whispered, the thought seeming to shimmer in the air between us. If something happens to them. Emery's eyes shone bright, a determination lighting up the shadows around us. We won't let that happen. They need us, Ava. We have to believe hope is all we have left. Yet even as she spoke those words, doubts gnawed at me. Our choices felt constricted, like the oppressive walls of the pit looming around us. A sudden sound pulled us from our sharing, a clang, then hurried footsteps making their way toward us. My heart plummeted into my stomach, the fear that had built since our capture threatened to overwhelm me. Quick! I urged, grabbing Emery's wrist, yanking her toward the farthest corner of the chamber, our breaths now synchronized in the rhythm of panic. As the figures drew closer, I realized they were not just guards but also shrouded in dark cloaks, whispering ominously as they passed. There was something familiar in their voices, a resonance that tugged at my mind. It was a fleeting moment when I caught a fragment of a name amongst their hushed tones: Leo. The anguish within that single word was a javelin that struck my heart, igniting a new wave of urgency within me. We had to find him, but as our plan of escape began to form, everything shifted in an instant. The sound of metal slamming against stone echoed behind us, and I turned to see a flickering light cast across the wall. Shadows twisted into familiar outlines. The room spun around me as the realization hit hard. What if we weren't in control of our destiny after all? Then a firmer voice cut through the night, echoing with authority and possessing the same chilling calmness we had encountered earlier. Ava. Emery. It was him, the man in the suit, stepping from the shadows with a predatory grace. I've been waiting for you. Are you ready to begin this little game? My heart sank into despair anew. Hope wrestled with the realization that our desperate attempts might lead us deeper into his web. My mind raced, grasping for a new angle, a spark of rebellion I could ignite to rescue Leo, to break free. But just behind him, through the swirling darkness, I thought I saw another figure, one barely illuminated in the dim light, their eyes full of anguish. Help! The whispered plea reached my ears, pulling at the core of my soul in a way that felt crushing and familiar. That I squinted, straining through the darkness. A new revelation struck me. Beyond the impending confrontation, beyond the uncertainty, even in the depths of despair, there remained connections, a thread tying us together through this nightmarish labyrinth, but at what cost? Just then, dread wedged itself deeper into my heart. I could feel a horizon of choice unfolding before me. I reached out, but the distance felt unbearably vast, drowning my resolve in fear. Trust is fragile, Ava, he murmured, stepping closer, encroaching upon my space. And loyalty always demands a price. And as he leaned in with a glint of malice, I felt the weight of my decisions crush against me like a storm surge. Would I sacrifice everything for the ones I loved? Was I ready for the final game? As the tension swirled around me like the shadows themselves, I felt a newfound sense of fortitude bubbling within. The man in the suit stood before me, his menacing aura palpable, but I refused to let fear completely consume me. They might have the upper hand now, having orchestrated this entire twisted game. But more importantly, I realized we had the greatest weapon of all, each other. Loyalty doesn't demand a price, I said, meeting his gaze head-on, my determination igniting like a flame. It's the bonds we forge out of trust and love that truly matter. For a heartbeat, the veins of silence twisted through the air, stretching into an infinite moment suspended between us. The suit-wearing man narrowed his gaze, experiencing my conviction as something he hadn't expected. Oh, but we shall see if your naivety holds true. Naive loyalty has led so many down a destructive path. In the depths of that moment, I turned my attention behind him, where the agonizing figure flickered in the dim light. My heart sank deeper at the sight of Leo. He was trapped, shackled by invisible chains that held him in despair, his eyes wide with a storm of emotions. Leo! I shouted, the name erupting from my lips like an incantation. Relief and terror intertwined as I saw him struggle against whatever unseen force had entwined him, each movement stirring an echo of vulnerability in the depths of my heart. Stay back! He shouted, panic seeping through his voice. Don't let him manipulate you. In that moment, every doubt I harbored about our fate threatened to crumble under the growing resolve within me. I had uncovered something invaluable during our turmoil: the light of my ties and friendships, the pain of potential separation, and finally, the truth. I understood now how heavy the burden of our lives had become, not just on me, but on Emery, on the girl left behind in the shadows, and Leo himself. A shiver of fear crossed my skin, but at the same time, I felt something unyielding surge through me. I refused to be pawned in this game. You win, I declared, my voice unwavering. Not against what binds us together. Not today. They may have thought they controlled the pieces on the board, but they had underestimated our experience. Only through the strings of our past, through love and sacrifice, could we break free from their grasp. As I glanced at Emery, I saw her willing spirit settle over the uncertainty like a tender embrace. We can save him, she whispered fiercely, determination glimmering in her eyes. We were not alone in this battle. We had formed a connection that couldn't be severed by mere threats and facades. The man stepped closer, amused yet intrigued. Such fierce loyalty. But don't you see? Your desires will lead you to your very own downfall. He lifted a finger, signaling the guards waiting just beyond the shadows. Just like that, my heart seized with despair. No! I shouted, reaching out as if trying to hold on to a tether I knew was slipping away. But then I saw an armed figure launching toward Leo, only to be intercepted by the girl who had first guided us through. No! I want to let you hurt them. She cried, her fierce resolve shining through. As she rushed forth, a powerful wave of energy expanded around us, gathering strength as if the truth itself was girding us against the darkness. The truth will set you free, but it may first tear you apart, the man said, his smirk morphing into something sinister. I watched, slowly unraveling the threads of our intertwined past, when suddenly, I felt a connection zipping through the air, our collective energy surging as one. The shadows pulsed, drawing away and revealing a glimmer of hope hidden beneath the surface. In that brief moment of clarity, a vision struck me like a thunderclap, a way to break the chains binding us, shatter the hold he had over our lives. Leo! I yelled, my voice ringing with an intensity that sliced through the delusion of fear. Together we can overcome this. With those words echoing somewhere deep in our minds, I reached deep into my heart and summoned memories of every shared moment, the laughter, the struggles, the love so profound it could not be undone. Well, the man remarked, his tone woven with disbelief. It seems you possess a part of the essence I didn't anticipate. Interesting. As he took a step back, the distance between us seemed to warp and twist just as my determination swelled within. I knew, right then, I was not just a participant in his game, I was ready to rewrite the rules. Drawing on my unyielding loyalty to Leo and everyone who had fought beside me, I charged not toward him but into the core of our bond, the connection that had witnessed every shred of our humanity. A warmth enveloped me like an embrace. Behind us, Emery clasped her hand with mine, forming an unbreakable arc as we surged forward in solidarity. Together! I shouted once more, my voice rising above the cacophony of his dark laughter. Incredible, he muttered, but I could hear the trepidation lacing his tone. And before the words dissolved into the air, another light erupted. It was a force radiating from our unified front, a truth we reclaimed in that harrowing moment, and it cast the shadows aside like flickering flames in the wind. Like a crescendo, the momentum pushed us through the encroaching darkness, and as I stretched to grasp Leo's outstretched hand, the world around us exploded into shades of brilliance, opening the door of possibility wide. No! The man's frustrated cry echoed behind, receding, enshrined in the very shadows that had sought to consume us. With our hands intertwined, we felt the power of our loyalty, the strength of connection manifesting as an unbreakable shield. And as we broke free from the folds of despair, something surged through us all, a rebirth, an awakening to a dawn we hadn't known was coming. When I looked around, I realized that the girl, the woman, and Emery had transcended our bonds into a tapestry woven by will, empowerment, and newfound resilience. And on this precipice of transformation, I had illuminated a path that no darkness could touch. We would reclaim our stories. We would uncover the truth shrouded in lies. As the last remnants of fear dissipated and the weight of suspicion lifted, the shadows retreated, unraveling with each moment of clarity. But even as the dawn swallowed him whole, I could hear his chilling voice still lingering in the crevices of my mind. Trust is fragile, and loyalty demands a price. But we stood together beneath the rising sun, and in that ethereal glow, I realized that the cost of seeking the truth and the promise of having emerged victorious was worth every scar we bore. The final realization came over me with an assuredness greater than any fear. Together, we are unbreakable. And as we stepped forward into the light, I clutched the locket to my chest, and the tangled past behind us unfurled into a new beginning.